And we are lucky enough to have Lynn here today to speak to us. Thank you so much, Lynn. Please welcome her.
Look, first of all, thank you very, very much for having us here today. It really is a great honour and a pleasure to come and speak to so many community members, and we really appreciate it. I feel like I'm stepping into a rather sombre subject compared to that fantastic display we had last time, and I was looking around the floor and I saw quite a few feet tapping away there, and I thought any minute now somebody's going to get up and dance, but you're all so mannerly and well behaved. If anybody feels like, because we did a lot of those hand exercises, if anybody feels that they need to stand up and have a stretch, please do so. I'll only be worried if you scurry out the door. I think probably everybody here knows about Lifeline. It's a crisis phone line. It's actually more than that now because there's also a chat and text services, but it's for anybody and everybody in Australia, a phone line to call at times when you don't feel that you are coping as well as you can. We're also out in the community. We present different training in the community, courses like accidental counsellor, suicide intervention training, domestic violence, all the things that probably Lifeline's associated with, and as I said, all those much more serious issues that happen in the community and that we're all very much aware of, I'm sure. But today I want to talk to you especially about the volunteering on our Lifeline crisis line. We really need more people to come and volunteer with us and train to go on the phones. Now, I know it is a serious undertaking, and I guess you'd also say it's not for the faint-hearted, but it is something that everybody here could do. I look around and I see there are probably lots of people here today who already volunteer in different situations. But I'd like you to consider also volunteering on the Lifeline line. I came to Lifeline at the beginning of the century. Yep, I know, it's quite a while ago now, isn't it? As a volunteer, and just sort of slowly I became more involved in what went on, and was asked if I'd like to start doing this and that and have some employment, which I did. It's been a wonderful organisation to work with, but I have remained also a volunteer on the phones. Now, you see our number, 131114, on the screen. You hear about it on the radio lots and lots of times, and always the times that it appears are when something awful has happened to people. And of course we get calls from people where awful things have happened to them. But they're not all people calling for awful things. Sometimes people just need to talk to somebody. They may have lots of people they can talk to, but there's something that they're not sure that they want to tell to other people. Or they may have very few people to whom they can talk. But there's always somebody 24/7 on the Lifeline crisis line who can be there to support them. You don't have to have done this before. You don't have to have worked in welfare or any sort of supportive job before you came here. The things that you need to do or to have being on the phones is a willingness to listen and a care about other people. And I think that's what most of us are most fortunate to have. And the opportunity to do something for the community is really, it is a great thing to do. It's a very, very rewarding way to volunteer. You don't have to have, as I said, previous experience because there's training. Now, training, it's not, well, it is a bit like going back to school, I guess, because you've got to come to class. But it's a really nice way to learn because you're learning with other people who are like-minded. and you're learning to be part of a team. Maybe I should tell you, before I forget, anybody got any question while I'm speaking, please just put up your hand, because I'm really, really happy to answer any questions, and I think that's really important, because lots of people have probably got lots of thoughts, like the thoughts that many people have before they start. I couldn't do that, it would be too hard, I'd find it too upsetting. True, it is hard at times. True, you do hear upsetting stuff. But Lifeline has a great support system. You always have supervisors when you're on the phone. You always have people to talk to support you. You always have me as a centre supervisor to contact if you want to talk about calls. The other amazing thing is that our brain protects us. Where by the time you have spoken with your supervisor before you leave the phone centre, because you don't have to do this at home, you don't have to bring Lifeline into your homes or into your units here. You come to the phone centre, which is just in West High Street, and speak on the phones there. You get your own room to speak to people, so it's quite private and comfortable. But I want to tell you a little bit more just about the training, because I think that's important. It goes over a manner of weeks, and there's one session, 1 day a week. You have an experienced trainer who talks about the different subjects that you will talk about, and there are some tough subjects to talk about, as you can all understand. I would imagine that most people in this room have had to deal with difficult situations in their lives, and I wonder how many of you actually called Lifeline. I know it surprised me when I had a couple of family members who've told me over the years that they have used Lifeline, and I actually think it's a privilege that people would tell me they've used Lifeline, but I think it's also a privilege to sit there and listen to people put their trust in you on the phones. The other thing that I really want to mention to you is the fact you're not there to give advice. Phew. Because, how can you, who's spoken to somebody for 10, 15, 20, whatever minutes, presume to be able to tell somebody else what they should do in a situation? But what we do is we help people realise they've got the strength to do those things themselves. So we're empowering people. It's not like just, you're telling someone what to do, they get off the phone and think, oh, now I know. It's not like that. It's much more. You're giving to the people as they give to you. I'm not quite sure where to go with this, because I want you all to know, I guess what I really want you to know, in having done it for some years, it is a most rewarding way to volunteer and support people. Obviously sometimes you get off the phone and you think about that person you've spoken to, and you can hear the sadness, the loss in their voice. But you also hear often that lift in somebody's voice because they've been able to find somebody they can talk to. You don't have to have great skills in the past. You don't have to be able to be a person that you think everybody comes to talk to. You just have to be a person who wants to listen. I am passionate about Lifeline. I think it's a fantastic organisation. I think the community is very, very fortunate to have Lifeline. You don't have to pay for the calls these days. People call on their mobile, it's all free. You don't have to live near a centre. One of the things that people often say is, oh, but what happens if I get somebody on the phone that I know? Lifeline has centres all over Australia. I think it's 38 or 40 centres. And I could be sitting in the Coffs Harbour office, and when I pick up the phone, when I'm ready to take a call, there's somebody from Perth or Bundaberg or Alice Springs ringing. So we get calls from all over Australia, which is, quite nice to think you're talking to somebody at the other side of the country. And on the 20-something years I've been on the phones, I've never spoken to somebody I knew, because most of the Coffs Harbour calls go to the rest of Australia. So that's something that I want to reassure people about, because it seems to be something that people worry about a lot. We take calls from people of all ages, and that's really interesting too, because you get well, you'd probably, like me, call them kids of 20. I get people of 80. I know I've spoken to people in their 90s. People of all ages call us. Men call us, women call us, kids call us. People from other countries who've come to Australia call us. We have an association both with the services that support people who are deaf as well as translating services, so those people can also call, which is great in the translating service. So we speak to everyone. I really, really want you to think seriously about if this is something that you can do, because I see a lot of really, really kind faces in the room. I see a lot of people who possibly have some time now that they could give to Lifeline. Once you've done the training, we ask you to do a phone shift, which can be 3 or 4 hours a week. So it's not a lot to ask for somebody. You choose the hours when you're on the phones that you do. You don't, we don't roster you. It's your choice when you're available, and we're there to support you. So if anybody really is a little bit interested, would like to know a little bit more, you might even like to come to our information session, which we're having tomorrow at the phone centre, 5:30 at 115 West High Street. We'll tell a bit more about what it's all about then. Otherwise, we've got some flyers here that you might like to take with you. We've got our phone number, our website, where you can go on the website, have a look at the training and so on. If you ring the office phone number, which is on there, 66514093, and you want to ask more questions, if you want me to give you a call back, the receptionist will take your number and I'll call you, because I'd really like you to think seriously about this wonderful thing that you can do for the community, you can do for people across the country. Another point, and I won't bang on for much longer because you've all been so patient, but if you don't feel that phones are quite right for you, maybe you'd like to volunteer in our op shops. We're always looking for volunteers for the op shops too, and you still get to meet people and talk and be part of the team. So it's another great way of volunteering. And the people who work in the op shops are the people that keep the phones going, really. The governments give us a little bit of money, but not much. It's our op shops that keep us really going, keep the centre open. So if that's something you'd like to do, and if you don't feel like working in the op shop, come and shop in the op shop. Very popular these days and very cool to do op shop shopping, even if you are retired and so on. You don't have to, it's very, and we have great ranges and we've got several shops. So please think of that too. I don't quite know how to end this because I don't know if I've answered or given you enough information to make you a little bit more interested, and I do hope I have. But are there any questions? Is there anything that anybody would like to ask me? Please don't be embarrassed, because what do they say? I know they've got that expression, no question is a dumb question. But the other day I heard somebody say, the only dumb question is the one you don't ask. So if anybody's got any questions. Sorry? Oh, yes, please.
Is the training at night?
It is this time, yes. Every couple of years we do a day course, but we find if we have it in the evenings, then we get people who have daytime jobs too. Often parents, one parent will want to come but the other one's at work, but one parent's at home with the kids in the night, so the other one comes. Yes, it is, but it's not far away. It's only in West High Street, and we've got a centre there and training. You get time to spend with the other people.
How long do the training sessions go for?
We go from 5:30 till 9. So it's not too late to get home. Are there any other questions? Yes, the gentleman there, and I saw your feet were tapping a lot when the music was on. I was hoping you were going to get up and dance.
Are all the calls recorded?
No. There are working towards having call recording from the point of view of training, but when people call in, they have the option. If they don't want the call recorded, they record that. You know, they press a button or do something. We don't have it yet in New South Wales, but that's the idea. And even if they've forgotten, once they get to speak to somebody on the phones, and we're called crisis supporters, they can say then, I don't want this call recorded. So it's all anonymous and confidential, just as you, a crisis supporter, are anonymous and confidential. And I think that's where people have a lot of trust in Lifeline, the fact that it is anonymous and confidential. Yes, the gentleman over there.
When people call in and it's evident that they're really in quite a lot of trouble, as in their situation is quite serious, what tools or what sort of support mechanisms do you have? For example, some people could be not here in half an hour's time if you follow my drift.
You're talking about somebody who's thinking of killing themselves.
Is it a case of you then have other people which can pay a visit to that person to sort of, to follow up?
Yes.
More hands-on sense?
I think it's really important, and I'm really glad you asked that question, because obviously we do have people who call who are so desperate that they think that the only way to escape the pain, the psychological pain often, and sometimes physical too, pain they're in, is by killing themselves. But the reason, you can't really analyse quite that, but there's some little reason why people ring us. Some hope somewhere, but they are desperate. And I would say the majority of people, and I'm not just saying this to build Lifeline up, but I would say the majority of people who call Lifeline, who are talking about taking their lives, realise there's some hope by the end of the call. Not everybody, and in those situations we can use emergency services to get to that person and help them. And I also want to say, and I think this is quite public, so I'm not breaking any rules, we have people who will write to Lifeline saying how much they've helped them, and we get those letters from people, some from people who actually say, if I hadn't called you tonight, I wouldn't be writing this letter now, because they'd be dead. I'm not lying when I tell you this. People say that that's what makes the difference. The training is what helps you with those people. We really do give you excellent skills that help you support people in those sorts of situations. And that's why I think Lifeline prevents suicide, not only in people who call thinking at that moment they're going to kill themselves, but we also, I believe, prevent suicide because people can call Lifeline and talk to somebody. And I think in lots of other situations we also help people get the service and the help they deserve. Our database covers all Australia for referrals. So it doesn't matter where they call from, we can give them some referrals that they may need to get further help. Does that sort of answer your question? Anybody else got anything? Yes, Lorraine.
Yeah. The length of training, you said from 5 to 9. Over how many weeks?
There are 10 topics. So it will be obviously 10 training sessions once a week. The 3rd of April is when we start our next training, and it's in the phone centre in 115 West High Street. There are application forms and so on that people need to fill in because we're a registered training organisation. Once you've done those 10 topics, we have what they call placements. During the time you would come in and listen to a couple of experienced crisis supporters on the phones so that you get a much better idea of what it's all about. Then once you've done those 10 topics, you do some placements. So you would actually be on the phones with a mentor beside you to help and guide you so that you get that extra experience. Now, just talking to you now, you probably think, oh my God, that would be so frightening, I couldn't do it. By the time you've done the training, people are actually itching to get on the phones and be there to support other people. So it is, I guess that'd be about 3 months altogether, Lorraine, before you actually go solo. But we never push you out to going solo if you wanted to take a bit longer. It's just one of those things that I think you grow into as well. Anybody else want to ask anything? We will be here for a few minutes afterwards, so if anybody wants to just come up and ask me personally, I'd be really pleased about that too. But I do thank you so much for giving me the time to come and talk to you, and I hope you will really seriously think about it. And if you know anybody who is not here today that you think might also be interested, please pass on the information, because as I said, we do need, the Australian community needs more people on the Lifeline phone line. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lynn. Thank you for telling us about what is obviously your passion. You are certainly, pardon me, a New South Wales senior that is shining. We really appreciate your time. But if you'd like to stay, I'd like to, Ange Martin's going to have a quick word. She is the General Manager here at the Shoreline. Not the Shoreline, she's the General Manager at Lifeline, and she's brought her team. As we know, here at the Shoreline, our community is so important to us, as is the Coffs Harbour community, and the Coffs Harbour community is so lucky to have Lifeline to support them. Thank you, Ange.
Thank you, Julie. Lovely to be here today to bring my team along. As you can see from Lynn's passion, having worked with us for over 20 odd years, it shines through. Excuse the pun. Lifeline is actually celebrating its 60th year anniversary in Coffs Harbour next year. So it's quite a significant event. So our region goes from Yamba right down to Nambucca Head, so it's quite a substantial footprint that our local little team looks after from a national as well as a local region. I just wanted to introduce a few of our people today who are just dropping off some flyers. So Oren from our 13, 11, 14 team, and also Sunji. It's her first day with our team today. We just initiated her with some pamphlet handing out. So we're going to hang around a little bit longer. We'd love to connect with you all and tell you a little bit more about Lifeline, not just the services, not just about the volunteering, but just what we do offer. And we hope that you won't need our services ever, but if you do, you're in good hands. The training, as Lynn said, is incredible. We've all done it. It gives you practical life skills of how to connect with anybody in your life as well as with complete strangers. So I hope you do consider it, and thank you for your time.